Every reader is different.
Yeah.
Every reader. You can't standardize and say this is tarot. It's not law.
No, 28 is also when your first Saturn return happens. That's where your first bridge to redefining yourself, which is why a lot of people might find that their lives, there's usually a before 28 and after 28.
You'll feel that point where you're at a level in life and you feel it's not
all
enough.
felt
I want more, right? And then you're like, but I don't have a way to approach that more. That is where your tarot or your astrology, these modalities come in, right? Where you can access more information to get out of the bubble.
She saw it in the reading. She saw it in the cards that this body has served him well till this point.
I can't misuse the gift I've been given.
In this episode with Jason and Sukanya, I realized that a lot of people go to tarot readers asking questions like, how will my relationship turn out? Or will my business do well? Not realizing that tarot is non-predictive and it only shows you your own placement in that very moment. In this episode, we have also discussed what else tarot can do for you and how to frame the right question to get your desired answer. So watch on to explore the true power of tarot.
Welcome on Soul Safar with Bhaav.
Thank you.
And I always crack this joke. It's the Hindi wala safar. It's not the English wala safar. So yeah, thank you for agreeing to come on, agreeing to come together, because this is the only episode that I'm doing with two guests together.
Yeah.
Because I know how your journeys have happened together, how you all got connected, and I think this is going to be a fun conversation.
I wanted to say that even if it's the other safar, we are pretty well versed. So you've got a good crowd today.
You can't do the Hindi suffer
without the English
You can't.
suffer. Yeah,
bit
yeah.
of that in it.
Yeah.
It's the human condition.
So before we get into the questions of the episode, I want to also, what strikes to me is that how any practice gets people together, and it's an interesting thing for people to know that it's, when you look back and you see how the dots are connecting, it's fascinating, because it becomes part of your, if you have to write a book on your life, that becomes a very, very important chapter. So why don't you all tell the audience how is it that you all got to know each other?
So I was on Twitter very frequently during the years 2010 to maybe 2015, and through a common friend who retweeted him, I think, I came across a tweet of his about energies or something, and
Wow.
There's a phrase called find the others, and at that point I hadn't found too many of the others.
Right.
And I was like, one minute, what is he talking about? Who's this person? Let me go. And there he was, and he was speaking my language, and I didn't know him at all. He could have been a Twitter creepo, rando, axe murderer for all you know. So could I, by the way.
Yeah.
Because on his Twitter bio it said, I don't follow back.
Oh.
And yet I followed him, and he followed me back.
And
here
knowing
we have
Sukanya, when she knows that person not going to follow, actually
But
never knows.
I'm the same. So,
Correct.
Yeah.
So I think it was just the universe conspiring that these two weirdos have to find each other. They have to come together. And literally, I think from our first conversation onwards, it was about, oh my God, I'm so glad that we found each other, because I don't really have anybody else I can talk to about this stuff.
Yeah.
And that was it. I think there are about 500 to 1,000 emails back and forth about tarot and esoteria and,
Wow.
well, two people who like strange.
So
strange
what I've
things.
realized, in the normal world, what is weird is actually a
Bringing people
gift. Is a gift that you still haven't realized and recognized completely.
But that's true. That's true, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
a lot of gifts that people have are seen as odd or unstable or different or divergent, because the world doesn't understand it. And just because you understand it doesn't mean that it doesn't have a life of its own, or that it doesn't make sense in its own universe.
I also think why this conversation is important on a tarot episode is because even though in our houses conversations about tarot or these practices is normalized to a certain extent, there might be a household somewhere else in some other corner of India where there is a child who realizes that, hey, there is this there are these cards that that call to me, and I I look at them and I feel a certain way, or I can interpret them in a certain way, and it's absolutely okay. I am normal. There's nothing wrong with me. I'm not
Absolutely.
weird.
Is that your life story?
That is my life story. I come from a family.
There'll be 1,000 Jasons out there right now.
Yeah.
I hope not.
I hope so.
Or maybe, right?
Because they get to
So-
share their gifts.
If there are 1,000 Jasons, I would want to tell them, like, follow your gut, like, go for
Go
your
for it.
gold, be weird, make it work. We were talking about how practices bring people together, right? Like, and it's the people who have a certain sort of frequency that's the same.
Yeah.
You have to vibe with people, otherwise, even if you do a great reading, it can go flop. That's what brings me to readings. Like, every reader is different.
Yeah.
Every reader, you can't standardize and say, this is tarot. It's not law.
No.
Yeah.
We don't have like a book that you're reading and checking. It's like every person who's reading is a medium. It's like a vessel. And the messages that come out are inspired through that message and through whatever is like force you're connected to.
Correct.
I would
So-
say that each tarot reader is your own cosmic language interpreter.
Yeah.
That's
That's
a
a
nice
very
way
good
to
way
put
to
it.
say it.
And you will not get the same reading even if you get the same cards with another reader.
Yeah.
And it ultimately you have to understand that it's a mirror.
Yeah.
It's a mirror of your mind and your soulscape at this point, which is what a lot of people have trouble accepting. They want some kind of miracle out of tarot. They want the reading to tell them something so new and so life affirming and so life changing. Sometimes that doesn't happen. It's literally goes back to you need to go back and forgive somebody from your childhood, or you need to figure out your relationship with your husband. That's what's leading to the rest of the stuff that we see. And they're like, but that's so mundane and it's so like I was expecting a miracle, but no, that tarot is not about miracles.
Right.
It's about understanding who you are.
Also, since we are talking about readings, there are many misconceptions that people come with to a reader for a reading. And what is it that you, as a reader, like to tell people? What can you expect when you come for a tarot card reading?
I think what you can expect is something that you have to be open. You have to be open to new information. Tarot is all about new information. You cannot come with a set resolve saying, I want this outcome and I'm going to this reader because I want them to look into the cards and justify this outcome that I have set for myself. No, that's not what's going to happen. If you can't be open to the fact that things are not going to go your way, don't get a reading.
Right.
Because sometimes people want
Yeah.
to talk about love, but I get the cards are talking about business, right?
Yeah.
Like it's telling me you need to start a new business or you need to focus on creative energy, and this person is like, no, but what about my relationship with somebody? I'm like, honestly,
face
if you
that
have to
before.
ask a question about your relationship with somebody, it's not going well. You don't need a tarot reader for that.
Exactly.
So use it for something where you are genuinely stuck, right? You want to grow. You'll feel that point where you're at a level in life and you feel it's not
all
enough.
feel
I want more, right? And then you're like, but I don't have a way to approach that more. I don't have a way. That is where your tarot or your astrology, these modalities come in, right? Where you can access more information to get out of the bubble.
The other thing that I tell people, it's not a misconception. It's like, I want to know why my boyfriend broke up with me. So that is not a question. That you're describing the situation to me. You have to ask the question in a way that you get the most out of the answer, right? How does this impact me? Right? What patterns of my own life and karma contributed to this? So I'm not saying that anybody, like tomorrow, if he comes for reading or you come for reading, you will know how to ask this question.
I didn't know.
But I have.
Oh my God! No!
Can
Put in my mouth. No!
Can I tell the world the kind of questions Bhaavesh used to ask me?
Let's also say about a long time.
Very
back.
long time ago.
Yeah. When I was
Will this
15.
venue suit me?
Yeah.
So I should
Can
have
I
dance
some
classes there.
Bandra school where he wanted to have his show, and I'm like, Bhaavesh, I am seeing, and there would be like the temperance or the lovers or like the star card sitting there. I'm
Kill
like,
me.
Bhaavesh, There's things happening here on a destiny level. No, I'm very worried I won't be able to book this venue.
Will I get 7 students? There are going to be
Yeah.
15. Is this assistant? Oh my God! Is this assistant going to work well for me?
I
It was
have
that.
driven him out of my house for asking these
Yeah,
questions.
she actually once told me, just shut up and get out.
Okay.
I literally have driven him out. But I just want to say that he's come a long way from it.
Yeah.
Now he
Thank
asks
God
all
for
the
that.
right questions and he
Yeah.
gets the best out of.
Yeah.
Uh,
You know, this reminds me of an episode on White Lotus
Hmm.
where that lady goes for a reading and that tarot reader tells her that there's going to be a death and she's like, get out of my room. You're negative. You have negative energy. Get out of my room. It reminds me of that episode.
Yeah, it's
but
exactly
people do
that.
that.
They want to, like he said, they want to hear what they've already decided will miraculously change their lives, and sometimes you can't. You
Yeah.
don't have that.
Yeah.
You don't have that message for them.
And also, you will receive what you're ready for, right?
Exactly.
So that brings me to like
Boom.
the energy of the person, and also why there needs to be an energetic exchange, or why there needs to be some kind of payment. See, when you come to somebody and you're in a state which is lower or is heavier or is whatever, and the other person is holding space for you, right? They're holding their energy at that, and they're trying to lift you up.
I remember you had also told me that tarot is not predictive. It is a guidance mechanism. It's not predictive really. And you told me, don't ask me about death. I don't do health readings. She makes it
Give you a
very,
list.
very clear.
I'm very clear that if you want a health reading, go to the doctor.
Yeah.
And even the most certified, professional, extremely experienced astrologers and tarot readers will not tell you about death because it's not our business.
Yeah.
And so each tarot reader can have their own code of ethics.
Yeah.
I know I have. So let me tell you, while I say I will not do health readings, I actually am very good at seeing health readings in the card. I have literally seen heart attacks and lung trouble and other stuff, and I've had to tell them, can you please go and get a blood test? Can you please go and get an angiogram? And it's turned out to be spookily life-saving in time.
Yeah.
It's happened to people I know. So which is also why I'm like, yes, if I see it, I'll tell you. But I'm not your doctor. If you want a diagnosis, go to a doctor. And I think that's only fair because this is someone's life, it's their health, I cannot play around with.
Yeah. So it's I can actually give testimony to that because it happened to me in real time. So I remember that when Ryan was in the hospital and I was reaching out to everybody, and I reached out to her because she was the only person I was like, tarot. So I was like, please do a reading, because there was a time when I was struck with fear. Because that was the only, I was just like, please put me out of my misery, do a reading. And I remember she just gave me a very vague answer. And she told me enough to just put me out of my misery. But it was a very vague answer, and then at that moment you're interpreting it the way you want. She said that, I still remember, she said the next 6 days are very, very critical. If he gets through the 6 days, it'll be great. And in my head, I'm looking at that reading as, okay, we just have to take extra care for the next 6 days and then he's going to be fine. And then whatever happened, after that she shared that reading with me. And when I looked at it, I was just like, she saw it in the reading. She saw it in the cards that this body has served him well till this point. And he has decided. It showed in the cards. But I am so grateful that in that moment she didn't tell me, because it would have broken me so badly, because it would have been
I can't misuse the gift I've been given. I sent him the reading. I don't usually do that. We're not. That's not ideally something you do. But I was like, I don't know what to do with this reading. And I think after this, even though I knew that this is something that I can do, I have nabhi to shapat le liya hai. I will not do any health crisis readings anymore. It's too much for me. After that. But I'm glad I could help in that moment.
No, and I actually am very grateful that you separated yourself from my friend to somebody who was doing a reading for me. And if you just you did what was right in that moment. You didn't your heart didn't reach out to your friend to tell him, because what you did was a greater service by letting your friend hold on to the last shreds of strength that he had in that moment, because otherwise, I don't know. I just want to say thank you for that, because, and I wish everybody uses these codes of ethics when they're doing these readings for people, because even though it shows to you, sometimes it's not the information that the other person needs to know.
Yeah, there are different ways in which you present a truth to somebody. You can tell somebody your boyfriend's shit, you need to leave him, but something like this, it's not in my realm of power. Let me just put it like that. It's not my business. Even if I see it, it's not my business.
I think we can. So when you're looking at people who can do stuff like this, it's about energy, right? And you can sense energy, but there's no way to verify or check that. So saying something, even though you know
huge responsibility,
90% it may happen that way, you don't want to do it, because there's that 10% chance that things could be different, and if they are different and you want that so much for that person, right? Because you're so emotionally invested in this, which is why they usually say don't read for friends, because then you're not, but it's about sensing energies, and sometimes you just have to hold that energy space, saying that, you know what, you're going to be okay irrespective of what happens. You need to focus on you. And that's perhaps...
The other misconception that I want to talk about is the cards. Yes, they have pictures on them. The pictures are very clear. The tower will have people falling out. The devil does look scary. But I may not see that for you. I am stringing together. I'm seeing a story. Right? I'm seeing the layers beneath. So sometimes people who may have a very minimal knowledge, or a very, like I said, a commercial movie or TV show idea of the tarot, will come in and say, but the card is like that. I'm like, yes, darling, but I'm seeing something else. I'm seeing a full picture. You're seeing one piece of the puzzle. I'm seeing the whole jigsaw puzzle. So that's the other misconception, that if you have a very half-baked idea or a very beginner's idea of what the cards should portray or symbolize, then don't bring that energy into the reading, because I as a reader, I'm using my perspective and my vision.
Is there any other misconception that people come with for a reading?
I would give advice is don't go with previous misconceptions in your head, right? And rely and trust the reader.
And don't go thinking your problems will be miraculously solved in one reading. The reading is not the solution. The reading is simply a switch that you switch on. It's like a switch that you put on. I call it activation. That's what I tell my clients. I say, I'm not your healer. I'm not your therapist. I'm not your doctor. Okay? I'm simply a communicator. What I do is I activate this path for you. So if therapy is what you need, hopefully post this session, you will pick up your phone and call a therapist who can help you. I am not that. So I call it activation.
This brings me to the point that it's very important for people to know that tarot is actually telling you your energetic placement at this point.
Absolutely.
Currently where you're at, and the reading may change tomorrow.
Depending on your personality, on your energy, right? Yeah. So, and that really, we see that, okay, now we've been working for 2-3 years consistently with seeing a lot of clients. You see, the first year they come to you, they're different. Second year they come to you, they're different. Third year they come to you, they're different. And then you don't need a tarot reader.
See the difference in the way they post questions or frame questions. I see it. I see the difference.
You can see it working in people, and that's great, because then okay, I can go. Because sometimes you also see information in a reading and you're like, okay, maybe, I want to tell them about this cosmic connection, etc. Because these things you have to be a little careful of. We don't want to go down into the woo-woo space, because a lot of tarot, spirituality, a lot of it goes into spaces where you're getting conned, right? People are just telling you what you want to hear.
There are some.
You have to, and talking about the misconceptions where you talking about the miracle, people need to know that the energy work is with you.
Yeah.
You have to put in the work. The tarot reader is not going to heal for you.
Is tarot really a Western concept?
So tarot, you keep talking about how tarot is a Western concept or a foreign concept that's come into India. India, you have Pakshi Shastra, right? You literally have these people sitting under trees with a parrot who comes out of the cage, and he'll have the cards spread out exactly how we spread out our tarot cards. And the parrot picks out 3 cards, and this guy will divine it for you. He will tell you your future or your past or your present. I've actually had this parrot shastra or pakshi shastra done to me, and it's fun, but it's also there is a huge element of truth in it. I know people who literally who sit with conch shells. I think this happened in Pondicherry to me. There was this lady sitting with conch shells like this, for instance, small conch shells, and she asked me a few questions, and she did something with them, and she said a few things to me. You can use anything you want, like how people read with tea leaves, right?
Yes, I've heard
So
of that.
tea leaf reading is huge. Now apparently people read with coffee grounds. So you can read with anything. Anything is a message.
Candle wax.
If you
Really?
if you allow the message to come through you, anything can be the instrument for that.
Right.
Anything can be the medium for that. So that, I think the ancient seers knew that.
Right.
They knew that everything has its own personal magic and language in it. We fail to see it today. We don't see it today, and we have to relearn and remember to get where we are today.
And that's the
The
pandemic thing, right?
yeah.
Like, that's where sorry.
No, go on.
I think that's the pandemic thing. It connected you to some sort of the information that we've forgotten.
Yeah.
We had forgotten ourselves in some way, right?
Yeah.
The pandemic forced you to connect with that inner source of guidance because you couldn't rely on anything external. So you're going with that source of stability inside that's going to tell you that it's going to be okay, or if it's not going to be okay, what can I do to cope with it, right?
Right.
So that's the
Everything is connected. Like in the court suit in tarot, you have elements of fire, water, earth, and wind. And the Ayurvedic, which is medical astrology, if you look at Ayurveda, our body is made up of they call it Vata, Pitta, Kapha, and these elements are made of fire, water, and earth.
Right.
So these are the doshas in our body. So does somebody who want to do medical astrology, do they want to combine tarot cards with the knowledge of medical astrology and then tell you what is wrong with your body? Absolutely, it is possible.
Right. Nothing.
Everything is connected.
Also, when I used to come for readings, there were some cards that I would actually wish, like, please, I hope this card doesn't show up in my reading. I hope this, like, there are some cards that you just fear. You're just so scared of, like that. I was just like, I hope the tower doesn't show when I'm asking for this
love
thing.
the tower.
The tower, the devil, the death card.
Yes.
I'm just like, and which is a card with all those swords that
That is the Ten of Swords.
Oh my god,
The
that
one in
card!
his
I'm
back.
just like, and then somebody sleeping in a coffin with those swords hanging. I'm
Yeah,
just like,
that
please
is-
don't
That's
show.
cool.
Yeah.
So, sorry, what?
No,
was
so
your
my question is like, why are these cards so feared?
So we like to label everything as good and bad. We love labels, right? So it's a matter of comfort for us when we say, oh, this is a bad card, but you know what? You got this really good card.
Like when the sun
Like-
shows up, I'm like,
Yes.
yeah, same. Happy.
But as you read more and as you evolve with understanding tarot, you understand that nothing is really good or bad. It's just a message. So I think what happens is you can fear them. Death, for instance, the death card, and he'll be probably, I know it's one of his favorite cards. Is
It is.
it's actually not death. It's about rebirth.
transformation.
Change.
It's transformation, and the tower card, I feel, is sometimes more of a choice than the lover's card. Do you want to jump out of the tower? Do you want to stay in the burning tower? You've got the choice.
Yeah,
You make the choice yourself.
yeah.
Notice the third card that you said was scary.
There's the
Devil card.
Yeah.
Devil card will tell you, look at yourself.
To face the devil every day, yeah,
face the
yeah.
devil every day. You look at yourself in the mirror and there's the devil.
And what's important here is to remember when you draw cards like the Nine of Swords
You
or
should
the
write
Ten
it
of
down.
Swords, is that it's not telling you what's to come. It's showing you what you're already
you are.
going through right now. It is already the truth.
Also, more than individual cards, sometimes a combination of cards is scary. Or it'll tell you like a slightly ominous story or a negative story or whatever. I mean, again, I'm using labels, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Or a reversed card, a great card,
But reverse.
supposedly positive card, but you reverse it and in combination with something else. Now that is actually something that could be worrisome for the person.
Right.
Not just one card because of the picture in it, because it's got the Reaper on it, or the towers on fire, or because it's got the devil. Individually, they're not bad. It's also how they show up in the larger picture.
Right.
So that is very important.
So talking about these dualities, we've spoken about cards that are feared the most. Do you have any favorite cards in the deck?
I want to go first because my favorite card is the sun, and like every
The sun. I'm like, please, sun, aa jao.
So it's very solar, right? And I feel like I get a lot of warmth from that card. It's that image is also constructed so well because she has the sun, she has a baby, she has like the sunflowers in the back on a horse. It just communicates so much, right? I feel like it rejuvenates me in some way. And another card that I really like was the world. Actually, the world, the first time I saw the world card, I could hear music, like, wow.
Yeah, it
like
actually has
angels
trumpets in it.
singing.
It does.
It does have those. But so I was like, okay, so clearly I'm getting activated or triggered by these. Like, it's giving me sensory stimulation. So yeah, those are the two cards that I really like.
I love the magician card.
Yes, my friend.
I know you get it all the time.
I used to.
I love the magician card because it's not a good card, bad card, nothing. It's a card that is so complete in itself, in its message, which is literally as above, so below. It also corresponds to the astrological Vedic astrology idea of dharma. So dharma is your true calling, your purpose, not your job, not your career, not what brings in the money, but what your soul came into this life for, why it chose your body, why you've reincarnated. That's called your dharma. And the magician card directly corresponds to your dharma, which is if you've been given a gift from the heavens, then you must use it on earth.
Yeah.
And your smile says it all because that message has literally been slapped into your system by the readings that we've done.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I have a second favorite card, but the magician card is something that I absolutely adore it. And I get it a lot in readings where people are really despondent about their life. And we would have reached a point in the reading where they've just discovered that they're actually good at something, and then you pull the magician card and I'm like, you can't get a clearer message. This path may not be the easy path, this path may not be the path even your parents might approve of, but it's calling you. And you have to find it's a card of authenticity, the magician card. And the reversed magician card also speaks of authenticity because it says don't deceive yourself, don't fool yourself.
Right.
You have to be true to yourself in order to even see the trickery around you if that's what it means. So it's actually my favorite card. I can't think of a second favorite card.
So talking about the magician card, I was choreographing a routine for a workshop recently, and it's amazing that there's the word jadugar that came in, okay? And for some reason, this magician, it was almost like I'm listening to Jadu Nagri se aaya koi jadugar, and the magician card just popped into my head. So at that point, this is my choreography. Koi jadugar, and I'm just like, and I've just like put that step in, and I've explained it in my workshop, saying, guys, this is the tarot card symbolism in your choreography right now.
Ladies and gentlemen, my work here is done.
You
may all leave now.
No, but like another card apart, of course, I love the sun. Apart from that, whenever the star shows up for me, for some reason it makes my heart feel like so good, and I don't know why.
It's a beautiful
Can you
card.
please tell me?
And that's because the star is also, and the star is actually the other side, right? When cosmically you're being vulnerable and open. While the magician is someone who has figured out how to make the material work, the star is someone who is working with the energies and the soul and the spiritual. So you're on a different playing level, but you've identified your strengths, you've identified what you resonate with, and you're sharing it with the world. And the star card also, you see the seven stars in the background. That's the Pleiades, which is basically a nakshatra.
The Kritikas,
you have overlap, and that's what I said, right? A lot of this information is feeded into it, and sometimes it'll take years for even me. Like, I'll look at a card like, hey, I never saw that there's this thing before. That's happened. That's really happened.
For instance, now he's talking about the magician and the star. Both are about magic, about manifestation, about receiving, about fulfilling your purpose and miracles and everything, all that you want to talk about. And in the magician card, there is a sense of mirroring what you get from above and you deliver it to her. That's a sense of mirroring. In the star card, she's looking... they are looking at themselves in the cosmic water, where now the integration has started because the magician is in the beginning of the deck and the star is towards the end of the deck, and the magician is fully clothed, and by the time you come to the star, they are fully naked, which means you've shed everything that doesn't make you an authentic self, that you're shedding everything that is stopping your integration with the cosmos. It's endless. I mean, this you can go on and on and on and on.
I was going to go on and say that the star is also about the sharing, the flowing of the waters. Waters related to emotions.
Yeah.
So you're now authentically expressing yourself. Your feelings are flowing truly. You're not blocked by anything, which is why you're radiant, which is why your inner light is shining. So it's like...
And hence, you're ready for the miracle.
I know that both of you all look at tarot completely differently as well. Even though tarot is the common thread, like I know you're learning astrology, and I know now you've started looking at tarot from an from an astrological perspective as well. Will you tell me a little more about it?
Like I said, everything is connected. A simple example would be, whenever I've had a reading done by Jason, he would get one card for me. We all tend to do that. I know what card you get all the time, and we will talk about that in a bit. We all sometimes have one card that will show up for us either as a representation of who we are or as a message. So for me, he always got the Empress card, and he used to say, you have to own this energy. You have Empress energy. Now, Empress energy doesn't mean wearing a tiara and sitting in a velvet gown.
Could
in your
mean that.
house. I would love that too, but not just that. It means your energy, like, owning who you are, being authentic, taking, using your power. And one of the symbols that is very prominent in the Empress card is the sign of Venus. Now, and I have an exalted Venus in my Vedic chart, my astrological chart, and exalted Venus is where Venus is very strong in a particular place in my chart. So a lot of things that I do are inherently Venusian.
Which is
Venusian energy. Like I love art, I love beauty, I'm a writer, stuff like that. I tend to find certain kinds of people naturally. I thought that this was the universe randomly conspiring to get these people to me. No, it's my Venusian energy that's drawing this to me. So everything is connected.
Right.
You can find parallels. You have corresponding cards for the planets in the cards. You have Mercury would be represented by the magician, because that's expression, that's information. The sun would represent the sun. Saturn the world card, for instance, would be Saturn, because it talks of completion. It talks of how you have to go through your full karmic cycle in order to experience the world in your soul. So every single card, the trump cards, the major arcana cards, you can correspond them to the planets. You can correspond them to the zodiac. Like I said, this Empress card is connected to the nakshatra Bharani because of fertility, creativity. It has certain other qualities that connected to it. And who knew? The ancient seers, one sitting in France, one sitting in India, ancient India, one sitting in ancient Egypt. How
that's
did
the
they
thing,
know
right? That? They had access to what? Looking at the skies. And they had a lot of time.
Sky was common to them. Yeah.
Right? They were looking up and they were charting the path of the stars. Now, what those stars mean is a second layer of communication. But the first thing that they were doing was that they're looking at the stars, then they were looking that things are changing, and they were like, oh, the season is changing. That's how you get the zodiac, right? The sun moving to the different houses. The next thing was that they realized that even there were constellations, there were different patterns of stars. And when those stars were in the certain positions, there were certain events that were happening. And that is where the connection, built over time, where, we observe this happens. We observe then it get, initially everything was oral, then it got recorded, and luckily tarot is a recorded way of communicating in this. The other thing that I wanted to add to what you were saying is that astrology is looking at the stars, right? So that's the cosmic story, and I wanted to say that tarot is more about the human story, because that is what it is based on. Like, it is based on archetypal behavior.
That's how you look at tarot.
Yeah, that's how I look at tarot, and that's how I approach it, to make it rational, to make it logical, to make it make sense, rather than just saying I'm feeling this. What was done is actually the game of tarot. So if you don't know, it started as a game. Okay. It was nothing to do with occultation. It was nothing to do with looking. It started as a game for royals. Okay, and it was a game of trump taking. So basically, you take the trump, the tarotchi, which was the 22 cards. They are the cards that starts with the Fool and ends with the World, and it it's hypothesized that that's the soul's journey,
Soul's journey.
where you come into the world as a fool, you don't know anything, you're here for the experience, and when you exit from the world, you're
The
an
one with the
integrated
world.
being.
Yeah, the
Right.
one with the world.
And I was talking about human behavior, right? Like, there's only certain ways in which we will behave, and when you place the cards in a certain order, you're in a way looking at like chess pieces on a chess game, right? Each card moves, each coin moves in a particular way. Each card represents something. If this card is in this place, it means this.
So what is, since we are talking about archetypes, what is archetypal pattern? If
So
you have to
archetypes are like, if you say large chunks, groups, you grouped human behavior. So if I say wrathful, okay, like if I say evil, if I say torture, you'll get like this wicked king. So that's like an archetype of a tyrant.
Right.
If I say nurturing, if I say nourishing, if I say loving, mother.
The
So
mother archetype.
these are archetypes. They are where understanding can happen between people on the basis of shared concepts.
The roles that we are assigned to also.
Okay.
We automatically assign certain archetypes to ourselves at birth,
Right.
the soul,
Right.
and we play them out. So whether those archetypes are serving us or not serving us is something that you learn and unlearn through the journey.
How do you combine that with tarot when you're doing a reading?
So the cards in the tarot, they correlate with specific archetypes. So for example, if I have, like you're saying, Empress. The Empress goes into the nurturing archetype. She's the cosmic mother. She is creation. So she is everything that comes forward. So you kind of get a link into the original idea of it, and from there, then it depends how intuitive you are. It depends on how much you're able to kind of laterally think.
How
Right.
does this archetype play out
Yeah.
in this person's life?
Okay.
Are they? Is it helping them or is it wounding them?
So, for example, if I tell you have the tendency to be a Knight of Swords. Now, Knight of Swords, if you see the card, it's this guy on a horse and he's constantly charging into battle. Which means that you need to take a breath before you kind of jump to conclusions. I know that you feel very intensely about something, but it's time to like take it.
Yeah.
Don't act immediately.
Right.
Act smartly. It's sword. So you consider the intelligence, you consider the logic, you consider rationale. So this is the way I kind of approach it, to see how these cards can give you more information of he's behaving like this, or these are the behavioral patterns, archetypal patterns associated with this card. Do you relate? And if you do, what do you want to change to reach where you want to go?
Right.
So that's, yeah.
Now my question is, you look at it, you're starting to look at it from an astrological perspective. You look at it as an archetypal pattern perspective. If this becomes one person and I come to you for a reading, what is the reading that I can expect?
So if you married the two ways in which he works, I work primarily on energy. I look at somebody, the same archetype. I will find the same archetype in the card, but not my mode of thinking is not the same as his. But I will look at the person. I'll say, I know what card I'm going to get now, and 99.99%
That also happens.
that is the right one for me.
Yeah.
Okay, so the reading will be the same. I mean, in the sense that it will not differ from a reading before you had this knowledge, or
Right.
before you knew this. So whether you combine the two or you separate the two, it will depend on what you're bringing.
I'm interested in knowing, because we've never spoken about
Yeah.
it. How did tarot happen to you? How did you arrive at it?
So I, although I was a child who lived in my own inner world, because I was also an only child for 7 years in this big house, I never really took to religion or spirituality, or I wasn't one of those kids. I wasn't you. You said you were reading about life after death when you were a child. No, I read my Amashtrakatas, I read my Blightons, I read my other books. I never really went into this till I was 28. 28 is also when your first Saturn return happens, that's where your first bridge to redefining yourself, which is why a lot of people might find that their lives, there's usually a before 28 and after 28. Okay, that's astrology, which we will discuss later.
Wow, okay. So
Okay.
On camera I'm still 28, but I see I see how 24. Okay. But I see how what you're saying, that on 20, like I know on my 28th, which is going to happen, what is going to happen
Yes,
to me.
yes.
Nice.
I like how he's
That
traversing
was
between
good,
the
though.
past
Yeah.
and the future. He already knows what's going to happen on
Happen.
his 28th birthday.
Yeah.
So I went with our common friend Anuradha, who was very much into all of this at that point. She said, I'm going to get a tarot reading done. Would you like to come with me? I was like, what's tarot? I don't believe in all this. Okay, fine, I'll come with you because I'm bored. I was that attitude wali 28-year-old. And I went with her to this really kooky tarot reader. I don't remember her name, God bless her. I wasn't planning to get a reading done, but Anuradha finished her reading, and as usual, she came out gushing, saying, she's very good, you must get a reading, you must get a reading. So I said, okay, fine, I'll get a reading. And this lady read for me. It was a very normal, I will not say it was an earth-shattering reading, but she literally stopped mid-reading, looked me dead in the eye, and said, are you clairvoyant? And I said, you mean clairvoyant, like do I see events before they happen? She said, yes. I said, now that you say it, maybe a little. I haven't tuned into it, but yeah, I think so. She said, you know what you do after this reading? Go pick up a pack of tarot cards and tell me what happens. And I didn't take her seriously. I was like, what is she saying? Yeah, what is this tarot? I don't want to think about it. But I went to Landmark and I saw the Rider-Waite pack. And I was like, oh, it's readily available. I didn't have to hunt for it over the 7 seas. It's not hidden treasure. I picked up the pack. I opened it and I said, oh my God, here's the user manual. I'm going to have to really learn these meanings. It's going to take me a long time. I'm too lazy. I don't care. Within 3 days I was reading, because it wasn't like I was learning. It was like I was remembering. And I've always said this, that I feel like with tarot, I didn't have to learn it. I feel like I just remember it from a past lifetime. And it is connected to my astrological chart, by the way, because when I got my chart read, this astrologer told me that you have a certain placement where you're pulling in the skill to read tarot from a past life. It's a particular, very specific placement.
Wow.
So that's how I got into tarot, and I was like, and it literally opened up. It was like a gateway opened for me. It was like a portal opened for me, and I think I have not looked back since. I have not questioned it. I have not tried to overanalyze it. I just let it happen.
It's about acceptance
Yeah.
and allowance.
Yes.
Jason, how did tarot happen to you?
So it's actually pretty similar. It's now that I've heard your story, I mean, I know about it, but same thing. And Landmark, right? The one at Infinity.
Yes,
I also
exactly.
showed up
Same
there.
place.
Same place, exactly. So he's not surprised. You showed up there, saw the cards, just really wanted them. Didn't know much about them, but I managed to get a birthday gift. I think my sister gave me some cash or something, and I was like, okay, done, getting this. But 10 years reading for friends, casually, just trying to understand. Because when you start out, you pull out cards, you don't get it. You're seeing the page of Pentacles and you're like, what does this mean? I don't know. So it took me a while. I listened to YouTube readings, I listened to anything, podcasts, I listened to lectures of how it was connected to the occult and stuff. But the real journey where I broke out and came into being a tarot reader was in the pandemic. And that's when I started reading for people professionally. Luckily, it was virtual, right? That just served me because I have mobility issues. I can't leave my house too much. So virtual readings, I was ready, and I know she encouraged me a lot. A lot of my growth has happened because of Sukanya, and I think a lot of people can say that as well. She's a little bit of a...
I call her Matoid.
Yeah.
She's like the Mata.
Guardian angel, guiding figure. Because, just becoming more comfortable with who you are and also what you do and asking money. So that's when I started charging, and I started really low because, this is the thing we want to talk about, where asking for money is the problem when you do different things.
So let's talk about it. Why is it such a big thing to ask for your energy exchange?
It's so funny, right? Because when you do different things, it's like people have to first acknowledge that there's value in that. And you, as a service provider, feel like you're supposed to be doing good. You're supposed to, you got this skill because you're supposed to be adding good to the world. And I genuinely was, I want to help people. And while the intentions were noble, you cannot do it if you don't have an energy
But
exchange.
sorry, can I just tell you what needs to change there is people don't need to see the value in it. It's you need to see the value in what you are contributing.
This is absolutely the growth that happened. So I started with saying pay as you please, right? Because that's the thing you say when you don't want to ask for money. But over the 3 years of post-pandemic, so it kept running. Even after the world started moving, I still, through friends, that's how I met you, then I met other people. And I got repeat people. So it felt like, yes, there was something I was doing that was helping people. And they were going through difficult
And you're
stuff.
so accurate, Jason. I even did that one chill with tarot session with you where you teach.
Yes,
Please
yeah,
look him up, and it's fabulous. He teaches tarot and they're called
So-
Chill with Tarot.
so I-
They're so good.
What I ended up doing is having these sessions because I wanted to have a place where people can access this information
Yeah.
for free as well. So Chill with Tarot is something that we do as a community, wherein people come together and we pull out cards, so you can come experience what it is, right? Because most people, if you talk about them, they still don't know what this
A
is.
lot of people think, oh my god, this is some woo-woo.
Yeah, like they're doing
woo-woo thing,
witchcraft or they're doing some.
which is not an average person's, a normal person's cup of tea, and I don't blame them because anthropologically we are programmed to think so, because certain secret practices, divine practices, were kept from the public, from the common man, from the average person. Only priests could access them, or kings could access them, or magicians could access them. But now these things are thrown out into the world, and I feel like a cosmic firewall has collapsed. It's dropped, and you can access it, you can learn it. You could, like, how you never in your entire world before thought that you would pick up a pack of tarot cards and
No chance.
start to divine. So I mean,
But-
anyone can do this.
But you know, coming back to Sukanya, what he said about the energy exchange, I have experienced that with you as well, because when you would do readings for me, you just tell me on your way, you just pick up like a bar of chocolate, just pick up like a flower, so I would
Yes.
carry like a rose. Why is it such a big deal in
I
the
will-
reader's
yes,
head?
Yes, I will explain this to you, because at that point I was not a professional reader, but by then I had understood that I have to, the barter has to happen, the energy barter has to happen. So with friends, I used to say, get me a piece of chocolate, or pay me 10 rupees, or get me a small gift, or something emblematic, something that symbolizes the energy exchange. But ever since I started professional reading, I'm very clear. If you can't afford it, be very clear with me, then we can work out a method. I don't mind doing the reading for less, but you will still have to make some kind of an energy exchange. And I'm very clear about it now. I don't hold back anymore, because honestly, if you do not complete the energy exchange, it is a psychic attack on the reader. It will boomerang on us. So there is no question of being coy about this.
I've also read you get karmically connected to that person if there's no energy
So
exchange.
at the end of every session, and I'm sure he can affirm it too, is that we do a cord cutting. I will say, give me a second. I want to return your energy to you. I want to take my energy back, and I want to make sure that there's no karmic residue left. And if you want, I'm closing, I say these words, I'm closing the reading now. If you would like a follow-up, let me know. I will open the reading again. I will open the cards again. I don't know what his practice is. I mean, I'm
Do you do something like that as a reader?
So I actually picked up that from her as well, for herself, right? Like the cord cutting thing. I used to first make sure that I have a candle lit, like natural flame. So anytime you're doing something that you're not really sure about, you should have natural flame, or you have an agarbatti or something, because these mediums, they go through different dimensions, right? Like they connect you with, and it's organic. We've been in our nature since forever. So I used to do that. Now what I do is I do the reading. I do a Celtic cross, right? So it's 10. I pull out 10 cards. And I don't ask anything. Like, I don't want to know anything about it. Let me see the cards. Let me tell you what I'm feeling, and within that you will resonate with something. And on the basis of that, we have like the whole session. And then after that, I say, now let's close the energy, close the reading. For me, symbolically, it's about when I bring all the cards back together, put them, and I thank you for your time, thank you for your guidance.
Yeah.
That's
So for
closed.
people who don't know, a Celtic cross, and correct me if I'm wrong, is you pick up 10 cards.
10
It's
cards.
almost like an overview. It's a map of where you are in this moment.
Current
It is
cards.
one of the many
Spreads.
spreads that you can do in tarot. Like you have the 3-card spread. Each tarot reader will have their own spreads. You can do a free-flowing spread. Celtic Cross is one of the oldest and most recognized, one of the most potent. It spreads. It usually helps if you have a specific question or a specific situation that you want to address.
So I know that tarot, we've spoken, is energy sensitive. So it is fluid, and you are in the flow right now with tarot. Where do you see yourself? I know I'm asking you a predictive question, which is completely opposite of what tarot is. I know tarot is not predictive, but where do you see yourself going? Your journey with tarot going from here, where does it go?
Since I am deeply immersed in astrology also right now, I think what I'm going to try and find is a way to marry the two. Because there's no actual scientific meeting point for the two, despite yes, the zodiac does correspond to certain cards, and the planets do correspond to certain cards. There's no actual form of divination that is that you can combine the two. So I'm excited to see if
Yeah.
that can happen and where that can take me.
I'm sure it will happen.
Yeah.
I see it happening.
Yeah, I can already see that. In
Yeah.
this case, I do see the future.
Yeah. Yeah. Jason?
So for me, tarot, right? I use it more to connect with people, because understanding the cards and understanding the meaning is one thing. Communicating that is actually where. So for me, getting better at it, like I really want to be someone who's known for this, and but not like a popular wherein like, oh, you should get a reading. Like, you really want to work with somebody, you really want something to change, you go to this person. So I'm trying to meet the expectations of myself for that. Like, I have really high. I don't want to. So if I look at something and someone's asking me a question, so even if it correlates with astrology, if it correlates to some other healing modality, I should be able to answer and reference, right? So, and also, like I said, it's a forever thing. You keep learning. The symbolism is infinite.
Yeah.
So lots of work to do.
In fact, as I'm hearing you, I also feel that tarot is going to make you show up.
Yes.
Tarot is pushing you to show up because it has pushed you from the boy who wasn't ready to leave his house to show up on this couch in front of the camera. Every modality just makes you do that self-work constantly, and it's now this is, I think, for me, the way I receive it, this is the beginning of your journey of showing up and telling the world that,
Absolutely.
hello, I have this gift, I hid for far too long, but here I am. If you want to do your self-work,
Yeah, come to me, and also like be guided the right way, right? At least the way I approach it.
I know that artificial intelligence, AI, is like really big right now. It's on the uptake. How do you think that it's going to combine itself and influence tarot and tarot readings here on out?
Okay, can I tell you? I think it's going to be beautiful.
Yeah.
It's going to be beautiful because for the first time you're going to be able to verify the information. The AI doesn't have memory limitations, and it has information of like eons, like across time. So it'll tell you that this symbol in the 14th century deck was used to mean this, and this could be related to this. But it will take time because like they're struggling right now. See, it's not like the AI will not have the information. It'll have the information, but for you to get the right information, and that's why I think that humans cannot be removed from tarot. You will always require human, because a human is going to be able to tell you what is the appropriate answer without you having to struggle for it. With the AI, you may have to go, okay, this symbol means this, could it mean this, could it? It'll keep talking to you, but that's great because you'll get to know tarot in a completely different way and at a depth that was not possible before.
Also, can I just say, imagine the kind of art it will generate.
It is
In
For the
tarot,
already
it's
decks,
already
for the
doing it.
decks, yeah.
For the decks, yeah.
Imagine the
You
kind
can make
of,
your own tarot deck.
Yeah.
Anyone
with
can
the
make
AI.
their own tarot deck
Wow.
using their own personal imagery. Oh my god, that will be amazing.
Yeah.
It'd be
Imagine my
beautiful.
face on a tarot.
Magician.
Yeah, magician. Koi jadugar. Yeah, it will be that. So thank you, Sukanya and Jason.
Thank you,
I
Bhaav.
have a feeling that we have a lot more podcasts amongst us. But yeah, and I'm hoping that through this episode, at least when people see it, they're not going to come to you like I did saying कि मेरा business चलेगा कि नहीं, मेरे 7 students आएंगे कि नहीं. I hope their approach to tarot is going to change a little bit. Yeah, and yeah, and I guess that's just the intention, that if they can approach their questions differently, their approach to life and the answers they receive are going to be different. At least that's been my personal journey and learning through this time, even with tarot. And I guess people just learn to draft questions differently, and then yeah, your life will change.
The possibilities
Absolutely.
are
Yeah.
The endless. Yeah. And thank you for getting out of your
Out of my
house and
house,
coming
leaving
to
the
this
house.
couch
For you.
for me. And thank you for coming once again, and for once talking to me on camera about what we've been talking on the phone and sending voice notes about.
I have to say, the pleasure is mine.
Yeah, thank you.
It's been wonderful.
Same here. Thank you.
Creator needs your love and support to grow and reach a larger audience. And that is why I would request you to like, share, subscribe, and comment on this video below, because you never know who is going to benefit from this content. Also, please don't forget to hit the bell icon so you get notified every time we drop a new video. We also release our podcast on Spotify so you can hear them at home as smaller chapters in your own time.